Writing. The moment I saw his hand locked around her wrist, something inside me snapped. It was a busy Friday evening at my little diner, the kind of night when every table was full and the windows were fogged by the warmth of coffee, fries, and conversation. Then her frightened eyes met mine from across the room. She wasn't screaming. She wasn't fighting back. She was simply standing there, frozen, while a man twice her size held her as if she belonged to him. I put down the coffee pot, stepped from behind the counter, and said the only thing that mattered: let her go. Now. If you believe kindness still matters, that people deserve a second chance, and that sometimes one small act of courage can change a life, please like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, leave a comment, and subscribe to the channel. You never know whose life might be touched by a story like this. My name is Daniel, and I had owned the diner for 11 years. It wasn't anything fancy. The sign outside had lost half its paint, 3 of the booths had stubborn springs, and the old jukebox only worked when you hit its side twice. But it was mine. More importantly, it had become a place where lonely people felt less lonely. My wife, Claire, had helped me build it from nothing before she passed away. After she was gone, I nearly sold everything. Every corner reminded me of her. Then one morning, I found an old note she had left inside the cash register. It said that a place wasn't made special by its walls, but by the people who felt safe inside them. So I stayed. That Friday, the woman with the frightened eyes had come in alone. She was perhaps in her late 20s, wearing a faded blue coat and carrying a small canvas bag. She ordered tea, barely touched it, and kept glancing toward the window. I noticed, but I didn't interfere. Sometimes people walked into my diner carrying burdens they weren't ready to explain. I had learned to give them space. 20 minutes later, the door opened hard enough to make the bell rattle. The man entered looking furious. He scanned the room until he saw her. She immediately stood. Her face lost what little color it had. He crossed the diner, grabbed her wrist, and demanded that she come outside. She tried to pull away, but he tightened his grip. That's when I stepped forward. The room went silent. Forks stopped moving. The jukebox clicked off. I told him to release her and leave my diner. He laughed at first, as though he couldn't believe someone had challenged him. Then he told me it was none of my business. I told him it became my business the moment he put his hands on someone who clearly wanted him to stop. For several seconds, neither of us moved. Then the woman finally whispered that she didn't want to go with him. Something changed in the man's expression, but before the situation could become worse, 2 regular customers stood up behind me. They didn't threaten him. They simply stood there, making it clear that he wasn't alone with her anymore. The man released her wrist. He warned her that she would regret embarrassing him and walked out. She remained standing there, trembling. I offered her a seat and a glass of water. She apologized repeatedly, saying she had never meant to cause trouble. I told her she hadn't caused anything. She had simply walked into my diner needing somewhere safe. Her name was Emily. Over the next hour, she told me enough for me to understand why she had been afraid. The man was someone she had once trusted. After their relationship ended, he had refused to accept it. He had been appearing wherever she worked, calling repeatedly, and insisting that she owed him another chance. She had been staying with a friend because she didn't feel safe going home. I wanted to fix everything immediately, but life doesn't work that way. I couldn't erase her fear with 1 cup of coffee. I couldn't promise that the man would never return. What I could do was make sure she didn't face the next few hours alone. That night, Emily stayed in the diner until her friend came to collect her. Before leaving, she thanked me and said something I would never forget. She said that for the first time in weeks, she had felt like a person instead of a problem. 3 days later, she returned. She wasn't wearing the blue coat this time. She had a bright scarf around her neck and a small smile on her face. She asked if I needed help around the diner. I told her I didn't, but she insisted. Eventually, she started working a few hours each afternoon. Months passed. Emily became one of the familiar faces behind the counter. She learned every customer's favorite breakfast. She laughed with the old men who played cards near the window. She started taking night classes and slowly rebuilt the confidence she had lost. And I changed too. For years, I had believed that keeping my diner open was simply about surviving after Claire's death. Emily taught me that maybe it was about something bigger. Maybe Claire had been right. Maybe a place becomes meaningful because of the people who find shelter inside it. One rainy evening, Emily placed an envelope beside my coffee cup. Inside was a photograph of the diner from years ago, when Claire and I had first opened it. Emily had found the picture in an old community archive. On the back, she had written, "You saved me that night. But you also reminded me that I could save myself." I had no answer. I simply looked toward the rain-covered window and thought about how close I had come to selling the place after Claire died. If I had walked away, Emily might never have found that safe corner on that Friday night. Years later, the diner was still standing. The sign had finally been replaced. The booths were repaired. The jukebox worked without being hit. And one evening, Emily walked through the door carrying a framed photograph. She hung it beside the register. It showed Claire and me standing outside the diner on opening day. She told me she wanted every person who entered that place to remember something simple: kindness doesn't always arrive with a grand gesture. Sometimes it is a chair pulled out for a stranger. Sometimes it is a cup of coffee. Sometimes it is simply finding the courage to say, "Let her go." If this story touched your heart, please support the video with a like, share it with someone who believes in kindness, and subscribe so these stories can continue reaching people who need them. And before the story ends, I have one special request: comment, "Kindness gives people their courage back." Let those words be a reminder that we never truly know what someone is carrying. Because sometimes, the person standing silently in the corner isn't waiting for someone to rescue them. They're waiting for someone to remind them that they deserve to be safe. Writing. She walked into my small medical clinic wearing a coat that probably cost more than everything inside the building combined. She didn't sit down. She didn't explain why she was there. She simply placed a thick envelope on my desk, looked me directly in the eyes, and said that I had until Friday to marry her. I honestly thought she was joking. I was wrong. If you believe kindness, second chances, and unexpected moments can completely change a person's life, please like this video, share it with someone who loves emotional stories, leave a comment, and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps these stories reach more people. My name is Samuel. I was 32 and running a small neighborhood clinic my late father had built with his own hands. We weren't wealthy. Some patients struggled to pay, and sometimes I quietly waived their bills. My father used to tell me that medicine wasn't only about treating illness. It was about remembering that the person sitting across from you was somebody's entire world. After he died, I kept the clinic open even when the numbers barely made sense. Then she arrived. Her name was Victoria Hale, the only daughter of one of the country's most powerful business families. Everyone knew the Hale name. Their companies were on buildings, trucks, magazines, and television screens. But Victoria didn't look like someone who had everything. Her eyes looked exhausted. She told me her grandfather had suffered a serious health crisis and was refusing treatment from anyone except me. I couldn't understand why. Then she explained. Years earlier, my father had treated Victoria's grandfather